Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and today we continue with the Giant Killer series where Danny details some of the Golden Era secrets to cycling correctly for maximizing gains and reducing the side effects like cardiac issues. Danny in particular explains why the cycles back then allowed Golden Era bodybuilders to grow into a show, which is not necessarily practiced today by modern bodybuilders. Now, here is Danny.
So I was the kind of guy like when Mike Mentor and I competed in Us Against the World, whatever it was, and hell, after that show, I kept eating. I blew up like a balloon. I looked like you couldn't even see my eyes. I swallowed so much. And that's what would happen when you get on these low carbs diet. So I always had a super reaction. I could lose a lot of weight and gain a lot of weight. I was that guy. Mm-hmm. So when I see today's professionals, they go up to 400 pounds to be fat to come down to 200. I'll never understand that. I always say the best bodybuilder is the guy that has to gain weight, not a guy that has to lose weight. And the game has changed where they gain a lot of weight because they say that's the way to get the muscle bigger. And then they lose weight to see what they created in that process. But I always say it's healthier to have a gain every year, gain so much weight until you reach a weight that you think you're at your best. Mm-hmm. And it takes a long time. That's why bodybuilding sucks. You just can't be a champion overnight. And everything now is fast.
On that note, you just mentioned Mike Mentor. In 1978, I believe, is what you're talking about. The 1978 Night of Champions. Is that right?
No, we did a show. Gold's Gym ran Us Against the World, and I think Roy Callender did well in his class. I won my class, and then Robbie won the show, I think. And then Mike and I went to San Francisco. We brought our wives, and I kept gaining weight, and he was crying with laughter because my shirts, I couldn't even get them on. He's like, "Holy cow, you keep growing, we're gonna have to tie you up. You're gonna be like a balloon." I was that kind of guy. I could lose a lot or I can gain a lot.
Okay. Now, with Mike Mentor, you trained with him, and then you're mentioning that you grew and grew and grew. I mean, was that because you were just because of the way your body naturally reacts, or what was that to do as well?
For me, when I would use product, and I never used a lot like everybody says. I mean, I hear all this crap, I start laughing. I could tell you this. People today use more product in one show than I would do in 3 years. That's how much it's changed. The physiques are different though. The Golden Era was about a pretty physique. It wasn't so much about being huge, but we still were pretty big for our time group. Today's comparison, no. But for our time, you got to understand, like there's a guy who doesn't believe that I weighed 240 for my last show in New York. He says, no way, it's not possible. He mentioned the Australian champion there, that he never weighed 240. I says, I don't know about what he weighed, but I know the day of that show, when I walked in, I was over 240. And so nobody, and the only ones that know the facts are my friends that were there. And if you look at the photos, you can see that I was huge.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Nowhere like 81, nowhere like any time you'd ever saw me. I was the biggest ever. And I was not really drying out like these guys, because basically I was told that Momo Benizia had to win. Him and Dorian were fighting for first and second, and third was available. And so I said, you know what? Why not? I got paid to show up, and then I won a check for getting third. And then I retired again. But I was the kind of guy that I could gain or lose weight with no problem. Now that I'm old, I can't get rid of a pound. But when I was young, I was like Arnold. Arnold and I would we would train off, and we would thin out a little bit. And then when it was time to get everything rolling, we'd come right back. And so it was kind of good because we gave the receptors rest. When you train all the time and you don't stop It's no good. It's like taking penicillin. How much can penicillin do if you take it all the time? And that's what these guys don't understand. You're better off taking time off in the sense of, switch the workout or even do a different sport where you're not going to get hurt. And then it refreshes the mind. It gives your body a chance to recover and then come back. But they don't do that. It's constant. I got to look great all the time.
So you're basically also talking essentially about cycling off, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, is that basically what you're stating, that because you do give your body, your cells, and the receptors a chance to basically be desaturated of that process, when you get back onto the product, they react, and I mean, you get an incredible reaction.
You got to let the body rebound.
Yeah.
Because if you keep using the product the way these guys say, you completely shut down, and then there's no return. Then you're on product for the rest of your life. So half of these guys got to go to a doctor and need testosterone injections for the rest of their life because they never came down, or they never used the rebounding stuff they should have done or used while they were doing the drug, so that your system doesn't completely shut down. I mean, look, I'm not an expert at the field, but I know it worked for me for what I did. Yeah. So these guys today are constant, and they're dying younger and younger.
Oh, yeah.
Look, we know that all sports, I don't care what sport you're in, kills you. Whether you're a swimmer, whether you play football, whether you lift weights, eventually there's a price to pay because you damaged yourself. And now when you're taking steroids and you're taking cocaine and you're taking uppers and then you're taking downers and then you're drinking booze on the weekend, how much can your body take?
Exactly. The liver can only take so much.
Well, and then we don't know what your genetic ability is. Everybody's genetics are different. Some people can get away with that, but there's a price to pay. All of a sudden they look old. Yeah. I'm 70 years old. I still get around pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy. I'd like to be rich. I'd like to be rich, but obviously bad investments and not being Mr. Olympia, I didn't get rich. But it's not even, I don't care. The whole point is it's different today. The guys are bigger, they're better. I'm not going to sit here and denigrate these guys. This is what's in style right now, and that's what people got to get used to. So you get all these guys with the golden age. Well, it was a great age, but now there's a new age. And so we have to accept it. Doesn't mean we forget about the golden age. But, to me, I don't even look at a magazine. I barely get on Facebook. You don't even see me out and about. I'm like, when they say, Dan, are you Dan? I said, Danny's dead. He died. And this is his spirit left now. He's gone. So, and then they asked me, do you get on the internet and look at yourself? I said, why would I do that? I don't. And only once in a while when somebody says, Danny, I just saw this thing. Look at this. All right, let me see. What is it? Nah, it's not true. And so the guys at the gym will tell you, he's just the guy that walks in, does his job, and goes home. Don't bother nobody. I don't say, hey, this is the best way to train. I don't do any of that stuff.
So you mentioned the products that you used. How many weeks prior to the contest would you
never
start?
used. From week one, I would be on a product for 12 weeks, done. That's it.
Okay, 12
And
weeks.
the rest of the year I was off.
All right.
That's cool. What I did. So if I did 2 shows a year, I did two cycles, 12 weeks, done. I would go get blood work, get checked, and that was it. Because, in my family, my mother's side, a lot of heart disease, genetically. So I had to be careful because even at the age of 22, my cholesterol was high.
Right.
And I wasn't even on anything. So I always had to mark and watch that. And what I tell the guys today is, I said, if you're using all that product, I recommend you give blood away so that your blood doesn't get thick. You don't have a stroke.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. Your blood gets too thick, and you go to a doctor. He says, well, your number's high, but the doctor never says, well, go give some blood away to thin it out. And that's what you should do. So I'm giving a secret out. Right. Every cycle, when you're done, give blood away so that you thin out, and it's like a cleansing.
Interesting. So that was Danny Padilla on cycling and how to prevent cardiac issues after cycling. Now, Danny has brought up some really important points here that I find very interesting, And as a scientist, I have gone further to see if science backs up what he is saying. And as a scientist as well, I'm trying to do so without allowing my own opinions or beliefs influence his own statements. I'm trying basically to be as fair as possible. Danny first states that nowadays bodybuilders use too much product, and worse, they don't take time off these cycles, which is why many modern bodybuilders are suffering serious side effects or worse, whilst back during the golden era, as Danny puts it, he and other bodybuilders like Arnold would take time off. That is, they would cycle off these products, and in taking time off, several things would occur. The body would have a chance to recover and reset. As I probed Danny after these statements, he confirmed that in cycling off, the androgenic receptors in the body's cells would have a chance to be desaturated of the process they put themselves into. And after being off the product for, let's say, 6 to 9 months, bodybuilders back then would literally blow up from the effect of being on these products. As Danny said in previous interviews, he and Arnold would have a super reaction to the products because they allowed their bodies to desaturate and reset. And in doing so, the organs would once again rejuvenate, allowing the body to return to its normal state. This is the secret as to how golden era bodybuilders would grow into a show. That is not necessarily as common or practiced today. And of course, after the body was allowed to normalize, upon administration of these anabolic products that are reported to give the athlete 5 to 30 times the levels, or at least the effect would be the equivalent of those levels of androgenic products, this super reaction can be achieved, as was reviewed, for example, by Hoffman and Rames in 2006 in this excellent review titled Medical Issues Associated with Anabolic Steroid Use. Are they exaggerated? That's the title of the actual review paper. And it was published in 2006 by the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, a very interesting read. Now, overall, this is some excellent advice from Danny, and regardless as to whether you believe in the use of these products or not, it is important to put things in perspective. Understanding that you are altering your physiology, especially your endocrine system, which is the master system of your body's metabolism, that is, in such a way that it increases your testosterone, or at least the effect of testosterone, to supraphysiological levels, or at least it binds to these receptors at a level that is, 5 to 30 times as great. Think about it. It's the same amount as basically having of 5 to 30 full-grown alpha males. That's a lot of testosterone, or that's a lot of an androgenic substance, and the effect that that's going to have on the body is absolutely mind-blowing. And I agree with Danny in that it would be stupid to abuse your body in such a way as to not cycle off after 8 to 12 weeks, because your body's sensitive metabolic pathways would have taken an absolute beating to work at such high levels. Just look at this table again and see all the effects that these substances have. I mean, it's just like having an average car and putting a Formula One engine inside it. I mean, that car is not necessarily created to execute the power that this engine can give it. So it is going to take an absolute beating. And sure, it will perform better. It will perform better than any other car with a normal engine. But after a while, if that Formula One engine is not taken out, that car will just break down. It's just two completely different animals suddenly put together. That's basically what's happening with steroid use. Continuing on now, the second very important point that Danny makes in this interview is the adverse effects, especially organ damage and the effects of blood thickening. Again, I have to agree with Danny here. These adverse effects are real, and if these substances are abused, and by that I mean not taken in short cycles but repeatedly administered year-round like some people do, then these adverse effects will only worsen. Let's look at these tables from the review. Table 1 looks at the ergogenic effects associated with these products, which of course many are desirable to bodybuilders. Some, however, are not necessarily desirable, like increased erythropoiesis, hemoglobin, and hematocrit. And, I don't know whether you understand these terms, but I can tell you that basically, the sum of all three will increase your blood pressure, or as Danny puts it, thicken your blood. And just to explain a little bit, erythropoiesis is the proliferation of your blood cells. It's a term that we use as scientists to basically term the creation of your blood, right? And if that's going to increase, and you couple that with increased hemoglobin synthesis, the protein that carries oxygen around your body, an enhanced hematocrit, you're going to feel like Superman, all right? But at the same time, that is a certain indication of thickened blood. There's just more cells, more protein in your bloodstream. Of course, it's going to thicken your blood. It's like adding, protein to water. And then, it's got a certain consistency, and then you add some more and some more and some more until it becomes thick, right? That's essentially what's happening with erythropoiesis and hemoglobin synthesis being increased. You're increasing the amount of stuff that's already in blood. Blood is an organ with a certain amount of cells, right? And this is regulated by your body. And of course, these products, they do not distinguish between one tissue and another. They're just going to grow everything. And therefore, you're going to thicken your blood. And that's very, very dangerous. The thing is with these substances, although you are training, as I said, these substances do not differentiate and specifically grow muscle tissue. No, they increase everything in your body. And in doing so, your organs will suffer because now they're forced to do more than they are used to. Looking at table 2, again, we see the adverse effects associated with the use of these substances, and focusing on the adverse effects on the cardiovascular system alone, such as increased blood pressure, we can see why Danny's statement of donating blood starts to make sense, because the blood is thickened. It increases, this process increases your blood pressure, which can, of course, increase the risk of cardiac disease. Again, excellent advice and warnings from Danny Padilla. Now, as Danny warns towards the end of this interview, if you are going to go down that road, then see a doctor and get your blood work done and don't abuse your body. I have to agree with him 100%. He's a man with experience telling you, these guys know, right? And that's all I basically want to say about just commenting on Danny's interview, on Danny's statements, So I do hope you have enjoyed this video on how to correctly cycle like golden era bodybuilders did back in the day, and how to prevent cardiac issues in the process. I definitely do not support these practices. I don't see the need to myself. I'm only doing it for fitness. I train for that only, for fitness, for keeping myself healthy and looking good. I never plan to compete, but Danny says it, if he's warning you, and so do many of the other golden era bodybuilders, if you're going to go down that road, be smart about it and educate yourself, see a doctor, get your blood work done, and don't abuse your body. You've only got one of it, one body, that's it, right? So if you have enjoyed this video, then please give the video a thumbs up and leave me your comments, and please subscribe if you haven't done so. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. Now, if you're interested in learning more about Danny Padilla's bodybuilding programs, he produced 4 booklets which I am now selling through my website as ebooks, through my collaboration, of course, with Danny, including Plan to Win, My System for Successful Bodybuilding, as well as Chest and Back, Shoulders and Arms, and Legs and Abdominals, which tend to be more specialization courses. These booklets are filled with awesome knowledge from one of the bodybuilding greats, with my personal favorite being Plan to Win. This booklet is awesome. Now, these 4 booklets are some of the most honest booklets I have ever read, because in these booklets, Danny teaches you the importance of goal setting and describes the important differences between what makes a novice, intermediate, and advanced bodybuilder and what it takes to get there. All available at www.goldenerabookworm.com. Need a bodybuilding poster for your gym or office? Then check out Iron Man Magazine archive.smugmug.com for the highest quality posters on the planet. Scroll through the galleries of all the legends, including greats such as Arnold, Frank Zane, Sergio Oliva, Serge Nubret, Tom Platz, and Larry Scott, and much, much more, and select your poster now. Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard-to-find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding. To take full advantage of my collaborations, use code GEB20 with nspnutrition.com and vincegeronda.com, as well as code bookworm12 at osl.com for a discount at checkout.